2025 is their year for at least 5 or 6 laws, goals that, I've been asleep. I'm so glad that you're doing the research, but I'm shocked what they want to do in 2025. So we're going to get to each of them.
So the Vatican's theme for this year is political love. So they're bringing the religious political system of Babylon and to bring in the political side, and they're bringing them together. So you have a merging of the politics behind this thing and the religious system behind this thing, the merging as one. Just so what you're going to get out of it is a revival of the Holy Roman Empire.
Ah, very interesting. And I found it interesting of what they said, that, that this would be a universal fraternity of pilgrims of hope in, here we go, 2025. So that
that begins January 1st of 2025.
Right. So that's just one of the 2025s that you've uncovered.
Pope Francis has declared 2025 to be a gift of grace and unmerited favor as he seeks to help the world that has been harmed from the pandemic and the ongoing wars to arrive at a rebirth of which we all feel the urgency. So they want something to come about beginning January 1st of next year.
Okay, so speaking of 2025, again, what is the climate promise?
So the UN chief calls for all hands on deck at the Climate Promise 2025 to accelerate efforts from local to international efforts to take more ambitious steps to ensure the global temperature does not heat up beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius. And so this is the UN Development Plan's Climate Promise has already worked with 128 countries. And Mr. Guterres, Antonio, says the need is urgent. And this March was the planet's hottest month on record. What we are seeing is just a preview of the disaster that awaits us unless we limit the long-term rise in global temperature to 1.5. So this is what Antonio Guterres is saying. And they're saying this is still possible, but the time limit is not for long. So there's not much time left. All countries must play in their part. So you don't incorporate everyone. And he states that we need concrete steps to get finance flowing and enable a surge in climate ambition. And he said the G20 must lead the way by submitting a robust, ambitious, comprehensive new national climate plans well ahead of COP30, as well as 2025. So we have a big transition coming between the Pact of the Future this year and COP30 of 2025.
Right, which we'll get to, the Pact of the Future, for the Future, which will be in September. But I just wanted to talk about with the climate promise, it's like, okay, there's this urgency, like saying we don't have time. So it's like 2025, we've got to implement all of this. And then when it says that all countries must play their part, including the group of, and I got this from your research, a group of, G20, which accounts for around 80% of emissions. So basically that's, hey, they're blaming the United States, they're blaming other countries, that it's all of our fault. But yeah, it's like mostly our fault. So we're going to have to really make big changes, like driving electric cars or scooters.
So this change that they're wanting by January 1st of 2025. But if you go to the new moon, so December 30th and 31st of this year, depending on where you're at, this is when the transition must take place, is at the end of the year. And then you go back to December 13th of last year. That's the exact same day on the lunar calendar that they had the UAE consensus. If you go back 12 months from the UAE consensus, you have the exact same day on the lunar calendar that King Charles did his first Christmas address to the world on sustainability.
So very interesting that they're like sticking to like the calendar, like the biblical calendar.
They're following in some aspect the biblical calendar.
Okay, Craig, what is the Rome Call document?
The Rome Call document is the tech giant Cisco Systems that has joined Microsoft and IBM in signing onto a Vatican-sponsored pledge to ensure that AI, or artificial intelligence, is developed and used ethically and to benefit the common good. So everybody has to join in on this and be pushed by the Roman Catholic Church. Cisco Systems Chief Executive Chuck Robbins has signed the document known as the Rome Call and has met privately with Pope Francis, stating that the AI must be designed, used, and regulated to serve and protect the dignity of all human beings without discrimination in their environments. And so we know from Revelation 13 that there's a mark coming one day, a certification mark, and this is one way there. This is like the beginning step of pushing that agenda.
I know it's like you're so crazy. You're just like saying, wait, Vatican and AI, what does anything, it's like, what does it have to do with anything, with each other? And yet it explains it, like you said, in the book of Revelation.
And this is coming at the same time as their deadline for digital ID. This is in order to fly. So by May 7th of 2025, you have to have some form of real ID or digital ID in order to fly.
Yeah, so it's just interesting because here we have another 2025. The Rome Call document, which you just talked about, is 2025. And then now the digital ID, which you're talking about now, that their deadline now is May 7th, 2025. Any other thoughts about that?
And I'll emphasize this thing has been pushed out over and over and over again. So I remember it being 2020 and it's been pushed out for several years. And Donald Trump helped stall that while he was in office. But this is a worldwide global thing. So one man isn't going to stop, probably going to slow it down this time around. This concept they have begins in 2025 and beyond. So that's the whole thing. So this transition for digital ID is pretty much global, and then it's forever. So according to these guys. And so we know from Bible, it says he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or on their foreheads, that no man may buy or sell. Revelation 13, 16 through 17. And you can Google certification mark, ID 2020, and all that information is already verbally being used. And they're waiting for that next pandemic.
Talking about pandemic, what is the Pandemic Preparedness Day? And it's at the end of the year. It's like going right to here we go, 2025. But can you explain that?
That's scheduled for December 27th of this year, and the UN has a day designated to prepare for the next pandemic. So that's huge, because we know based on history that most of these pandemics come with winter. And so that would be something very interesting to watch. I mean, that includes everything in the past 100 years. You don't get a flu in the middle of the summer, you get a flu in the winter.
And now another 2025 that I was like reading with your research was the biometric payment. What does that have to do with 2025 too?
So JP Morgan and Bank of America are gearing up to launch their broad biometric payment systems that will be made available to all retailers, and to make it available to all U.S. retailers by early of 2025. This will enable shoppers to make purchases without pulling out a physical piece of paper or currency or plastic credit and debit cards. It's a payment system, but using your face. It's also for getting into your bank account that it's using your face. So Bank of America is already doing that. And I believe JP Morgan's probably right there as well. So there's some companies already implementing this system. Panera Bread is already implementing this system. So you can pay with your face. Also, you pay with your hand already at the Amazon One. You just walk in and pay with your hand. So we already have that system in place.
Right. And then you were saying too that there's a professional sports franchises that are already using it too, with this biometric payment. But I mean, of course, that's going to really lead to the digital, everybody being digitized.
Yeah, everybody. And then, so Birch is reporting this, and I actually follow him on Linked. So I get all his updates on Linked. Once they start, so it's just a matter of time before this technology is installed in all retail stores, and they'll be banning anyone from buying or selling products unless you're among the digitally marked. At that point, we are at Revelation 13.
Okay, right. So again, the biometric payment, they're saying they want to make it available to all U.S. retailers by early next year, by 2025. I mean, 2025, we need to be praying a lot, and but I still believe in the Lord's protection.
Well, just to show how close we are, the Temple Institute in Israel has 5 red heifers, and one of those has to be sacrificed. One of those has to be good enough with no gray hairs in the next year to be sacrificed for a new temple. And the Temple Institute stated this spring that that sacrifice will take place when their King Mashiach is revealed. And so we have the 1 year period, or less than 1 year period right now, that those red heifers are still able to be sacrificed without giving you that first gray hair. And that happens only after their king is revealed.
Wow. So they're believing that for 2025.
They're believing that for 2025. It has to happen. They have a specific date in mind, and that's not important. It'd be the same day as it was done in the Old Testament. So what we'll see after this event, sometime after this event, is there's a 7-year peace agreement or confirming of agreement between Israel and multiple nations. And that could be CEOs and corporations as well. That fulfills Daniel 9:27 and Revelation 17:12. We'll see a world government forming in front of us, but that world government takes hold at the beginning of the tribulation, Revelation 13:3, Revelation 17:12 through 13. Russia and Iran will invade Israel. That's sometime believed to be sometime in the beginning of the tribulation. There'll be severe inflation. So right now everything is double priced. So we're paying double for food, double for rent, double for your car, double for gas. But in Revelation 6:5 through 6, it describes something so severe that your day's wages, all you can afford is a meal at the end of the day. We see the mark of the beast, and we discussed that, where we have a certification mark that we see forming right in front of us. There'll be millions of Christian martyrs, Revelation 6:9, Revelation 7:13 through 17. There's a total loss of freedom once this begins. That's Revelation 13:16 through 18. And there'll be billions of humans die, Revelation 6:8, that's opening of the seals. And Revelation 9:18, so a huge amount of population reduction begins during the tribulation. In fact, the Antichrist will be called death. So when he went at the midpoint of the tribulation, what comes with him is massive death. Israel burdens the world. So we see that already happening today, where all the nations are going against him. And we just saw 3 countries issue a statement that Palestine should be a state. So Israel burdens the world, Zechariah 12:3. So the conflicts surrounding Israel are going to increase dramatically during the tribulation. And we have the world pharmakeia, deception that takes place, Revelation 18:23b, sorcery comes from the Greek pharmakeia. So this comes on the back end of the December 27th event that they're planning for the next pandemic. And we see that deception forming already. So that's what to expect. I believe in a pre-trib rapture. Some people don't, but either way, you need to trust God. So.
Well, right. And whether it's like pre-trib or post-trib, which, different people start. If it's pre-trib, we want to be ready. We want to be ready whenever it is. But what I find, scary is if some people just go, well, it's not going to happen for a while, so I could just, kind of. No, we want to be ready now. Now, Craig, how can people?
You need to be ready. You always need to be ready. And you're ready by believing in Jesus Christ and his finished work on the cross. You can't add works to your salvation. It's simple belief.
Right, so but that belief actually changes you. That
belief will bring about lots of change in you from day one. In fact, my grandfather was a farmer, and he had every curse word that came out of him all day long. And while on a tractor, there was a pastor that came to him while he was farming and led him to the Lord. And that from that day forward, the vocabulary from him changed. And his cows, he told us that his cows did not understand him the next day. So because his language had changed, so they weren't following his command because all that vocabulary was taken away from him. So that's how salvation can change a person.
Wow, right. And if anyone said, he just realized that he shouldn't be. No, come on. In one day, you can't just change your vocabulary. Maybe if he worked on it for a long period of time. But yeah, no, there's just so many amazing things when you accept the Lord. And I've talked to so many people with their testimonies. Some people just instantly get off of drugs. It's their life changes. And honestly, you become the real you. And how can people follow you on Facebook, Craig, because you have amazing updates keeping everybody informed?
They can follow me on Craig Bong on Facebook, and they can follow me I post occasionally on Signs of the End on Facebook, and also Rapture Watchers in all caps on Facebook, and that's a group. So my private one is you're going to get one post a day approximately.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on today.